Good morning, everyone. So excited to be here with you all. Last year I was ordained a deacon, and I had the privilege of preaching my first Mass here. But it's such a blessing to be here with you all. I know you've offered a lot of prayers on my behalf as a community. It's a great honor to be a son of this parish, to be able to celebrate my first Mass with all of you. So this past Memorial Day, I was driving back with a good priest friend of mine from the Wichita ordinations. And as you can imagine, with 10 hours of road tripping, there's a lot of things that are discussed, a lot of topics that come up. And today I'd like to bore you with just one of them, if you don't mind. It was music. Father and I talked about our favorite bands, genres, the favorite concerts that we had been to. But the most interesting topic that came up was our very first CD. Very first CD. And my first CD ever was an album by Coldplay, and his was by the Goo Goo Dolls. And we both recounted how, as our first and only album, we played those things over and over and over until the CDs wore out, until we knew every song, every track, every lyric of those CDs. We loved that music, and we delighted in it, even though we heard it a million times. But I wonder about now. I wonder about today and how many choices are out there, and if we've lost the ability to cherish what we have right here. Today we seem to have succumbed to the tyranny of novelty. We can't get enough of the new or next best thing, and we're quick to discard whatever is right in front of us in hopes of finding that next best or better thing. Repetition seems unbearable to us. In those days in which we could delight in playing the same album over and over and over, seems so far gone. Now, as a good theologian, but even more as somebody who likes to push the envelope a little bit, as we were talking about this, I had to ask the question, do we feel this way about the Mass? Do we find it boring and repetitious, or is it something that we can take delight in? Because like those worn out discs that my friend and I had, we should never tire of imploring the mercy of God in the penitential act. We should never tire of singing his glory in the Gloria. We should never tire of reciting the great mysteries of our faith in the Creed. And we should never tire chanting alongside all of the angels and saints, the Sanctus. In short, we should never tire of the Mass. Not just because it's right and just, holy and pious, but on the contrary, what you may feel you're experiencing as normal and mundane is the participation in the unrepeatable. From the one sacrifice of Christ flows every grace and spiritual blessing. What we experience in time as repeatable or boring is in fact a singular, unrepeatable, and eternal act. It is the most novel act, that God became man so that man might become God. That through the words of a priest, he turns bread into God. What could be more novel? It's so novel, in fact, that we have a hard time believing it, and rightly so, because it's a great mystery that can only be understood through the gift of faith. But I can tell you this, that he who made the promise is trustworthy. He who is truth cannot deceive. And so when he says, "This is my body, this is my blood," he has truly given his flesh for the life of the world. For unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you do not have life within you. And while we may have a hard time paying attention or find certain parts of the Mass boring, God never tires of it. He never tires of us. He is never exhausted pouring himself out for us. He never wearies in repeating the words of his self-gift, self-offering, self-sacrifice. This is my body. This is my blood given up for you. He never tires of calling you to himself, of searching for you, of telling you how much he loves you. This is why he has given us the Eucharist, to serve as that constant reminder of his presence and love for us, of his burning desire to become one with us. So as we approach the altar today, join me in praying that we never tire of this, that we never tire of receiving God's love, of hearing his words spoken to us, of contemplating these mysteries. This is the one track that we should never tire of listening to on repeat. Like those CDs that my friend and I listened to so much that they became worn out, these floors should be worn out by the feet of those who approach the altar in faith, of those servants who long to hear the Father's voice. And it is our great hope that one day, when we are called home, we will get to participate in that eternal love song between the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, to hear those words that are ceaselessly repeated. I love you, and you are mine. Who could ever tire of that?